Well, Julian Assange has had a stroke in Belmarsh Prison in the United Kingdom. This apparently happened, I guess, in October, uh, when he was or around the time he was appearing before one of the courts. I don't know if it was. Well, I guess it was. Yeah, I guess it was before this appeal. This appeals court overturned the blockage of his extradition. Um, Apparently, it seems pretty serious, although they called it a mini stroke, but he's having memory problems and apparently has neurological damage. He has a drooping right eyelid, although, that's cosmetic. But it's not surprising. I mean, whether it's a stroke or a heart attack or an ulcer or something, I mean, all that stress has to induce some kind of serious damage on the body. It really is horrible watching this happen to someone who has done nothing wrong and has in fact done quite a lot right. It's frightening to see the way in which my government will try and destroy a perfectly innocent person simply because they made them look bad. And there's not even a hint of remorse. They don't, there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, there's no humanity in any of this. It's kind of the way to sum it up how these people think. I thought Tucker Carlson a few nights ago did a great job. He just kind of said it frankly. He said, "Well, all respectable people hate Julian Assange. It's just a matter of fact. There's nothing there to really think about. There's no human being to whose character you can assess. It's just, oh, Julian Assange, he's a bad guy. So, whatever terrible things happen to him are justified. Ask him why he's a bad guy. The only thing that they will have to tell you is that he made the U.S. intelligence community look bad. That's it." Now, I know I just talked about Assange yesterday, but this news of the stroke, I think, warranted talking about it for another day, because this is, it's just showing how detrimental this is on a person and how cruel this is. I said yesterday I don't think I would have been able to have the strength that he does, not to try and off myself. And we haven't heard any reports of him trying to off himself. Now, they did take precautions, I think, to keep him from doing that, or at least they should have. He should, at the very least, be on suicide watch, because, I mean, this is, if anybody has a reason to kill themselves, it's Julian Assange. If there's anybody who could feel more hopeless on this planet, I don't know their name. Unfortunately, I think it's almost certain that Assange will die in prison, probably sooner rather than later. When you keep someone in these conditions, as you can see, I mean, he's a fairly young man to be having a stroke. He's aging rapidly. Years and years are being shaved off of his life. Reading about this really makes you appreciate every single day that you have free on this planet. Because when you lose that, you just have nothing. It's really easy to get depressed, even as a free person. There's a lot of depressing things in the world. But if you ever find yourself in a situation like Assange, to where for years you've been kept in a little box like a rat, I'd imagine that whatever problems we feel like we have out here seem really small, and the world outside must seem like a pretty amazing place with so many possibilities. If I were in his position, I really don't think I would give a damn about my integrity as a journalist, or really anything on the outside world. I mean, living in North Korea is probably better than living in an actual prison cell, because at least in North Korea they let you go out and ride your bike, only to and from work, I would assume, but at least you can get some fresh air. It's not like being locked in a supermax with a window that's 2 inches wide. And in that case, politics and, tyranny of the state, as bad as it might be, covering up deaths in a war, if you don't live in that country, if I lived in Australia like Assange. Now again, the modern day Australia, it's not as clear of a win being in jail versus out of jail. But the Australia prior to 2020, if I had been Assange and just and I knew about the horrors of the U.S. war in Afghanistan and Iraq and the other places, and you had told me that all this would happen, if I were to expose that, I'd say, you know what, no, I think I'll just work a normal job and live a normal life and have a happy family. But instead, Assange has sacrificed his life to inform the rest of us in the world. And for that, even if he dies in prison, his legacy will live on for a long, long time after he's gone. I still keep coming back to Dana Rohrabacher's visit to Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy when he offered him his freedom, a full pardon from Donald Trump, in exchange for the name of his source. He could have given a fake name. He could have, talked it over with a friend and say, hey, will you be my source? Well, actually, that would be bad, because then if it was a living person. I mean, he could have said the name of a deceased person who we all know, but we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. If he had said that, even if that wasn't true, Assange's life would be back on track. He would probably be a very happy man. Now you could say, well, they'll find some other way to take him down, but at least he'd get out of his peril. I mean, he knew back then he was in peril. And as soon, well, not even as soon. It was probably already in the works when Dana Rohrabacher was there. He probably told him, hey, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't make a deal with us right now. We're going to extradite you and put you away forever. And so even knowing all this would happen, Assange turned him down. And I just can't fathom that level of integrity. I would have never done that if I were him. I have no problem saying that. I would not put myself through this hell for the sake of my own integrity and my reputation. If the choice was spend the rest of your life in prison, or your colleagues will think that you're a sellout, I'd rather be known as a sellout. I think that's a very fair trade. My reputation for my life. And not even everyone would feel that way, because, I mean, knowing the amount of pressure, a lot of people, like me, would probably not begrudge him that, ratting out his source and claiming that it's someone who's not alive. Again, whether that's true or not, it's an easy out. I think almost everyone, unless they're lying, would also agree that, yeah, I would take that trade. I'm gonna give the name of my source. I'm gonna give Trump what he wants if he promises me my freedom. And the fact that when he didn't take that deal, when he showed that he was a true man of integrity, that Trump threw the book at him and sicked the dogs on him, is unforgivable. So, with that said, I will not be talking about this tomorrow. I wanted to get into that update, and with that said, I will see you folks then.